2. That chaos has resulted from the construction collapse is to be expected. Pedestrians rubberneck at twisted cables snaking through the demolished historical landmark subsidized housing megaplex and the adjoining period brownstone townhomes. Sidewalks littered with rebar, drywall ripped from splintered studs, floors sagging beneath red dust and compromised vapor barrier. Not every impacted building has come down, and many stand with gashes exposing the preoccupations of their inhabitants. A floor-to-ceiling salamander enclosure filling much of a living room, a low wall topped by bamboo sprigs separating the glowing beds of an inn-apartment tanning salon, a clawfoot bathtub surrounded by shelves of teddy bears, a slice of Wisco kitsch. A section of roof groans, settling into the bowing shell of a post-war cinder-block tavern. Cosmos gives the district's wreckage a wide berth, cutting through a vendor-choked open-air market, ambulances rushing overhead, ground-based jalopies standing still on avenues and boulevards designed to keep everything moving. Launch ports flanking food carts built along roundabouts, a priority lane for commercial traffic and emergencies and birthday driving, and despite the fact that catastrophic malfunctions seldom occur, it has been 4,092 days since an impactful transportation incident of any kind, 13,431 days since an event resulting in a loss of life. Emergency response vehicles have already identified essential load-bearing faults and are hard at work clearing debris. As the Order of Lethe provides Class 2 anonymity, the caution, zone, emergency, please remain calm, and area compromised, do not enter pop-ups vanish with a wave of Cosmos's hand, as does the voice of the calm British man requesting that affected persons find their way to a health tech or a grief counselor or a grief tech kiosk in Cray Park, a perimeter safely outside of the protected barricades. Governmental agencies, the orders, a carryover from the practical need for specialization, departments with distinct mandates sprinkled throughout the urban landscape, booths and stalls, repurposed warehouses, sculpted hospital wings, each providing occupations and clear, purposeful objectives. Differently colored jumpsuits, a certain amount of vocational overlap, like words with multiple meanings. Standard operating procedures, purposeful citizen employment, lethe, forgetfulness, pruning treatments. Cray Park used to have a different name, Cosmos thinks, a title that escapes memory. All things get rebranded, everything familiar fades, crowds disperse, lights shut off, in the auditoriums of the mind there'd been a falling out, threats, he remembers, a garden party, a drink thrown in his face. "You think you can hide behind red tape?" a man had asked. Today, the park is filled with everyone processing loss in real time, while Order of FEMA staff unload zippered body bags from a wrapped pallet near the bandstand pavilion. Deceased persons lay in rows that stretch sidewalk to sidewalk, a line that curves with recently tilled flower beds, a crowd forming on the far side of the OneGov Memorial Fountain and its statue of an elderly man, the face twisted by delirium, anguish observed by a circle of weeping stone witnesses, their collective tears filling the monument's shallow pool. From sea to shining sea, Cosmos says. Reflexively, he holds his free hand over his heart. It is important, he remembers, to honor the efforts of the pioneers. He cannot recollect when he first learned to act thusly, a semantic memory as opposed to an episodic memory, something to mull over. Banners from the OneGov quincentennial stretch between light poles, fluttering, waiting for the parade committee to come undo the knots and fold them neatly and bundle everything off to the incinerator. Mr. Wasoda's appointment has been pushed back 30 minutes, Alan says. The Order of St. Christopher has assigned extra shuttles to the Hyperloop. Taking a moment to pay tribute, Cosmos says. Ada Half Moon has accordingly been rescheduled for 11 o'clock. A multitude of interrelated timetables hinge on your punctuality. The park smells of dust and plaster despite the falling leaves, oranges and reds and yellows dropping quietly from branches to earth. Cosmos stops and sets his clasped travel bag on the fountain's concrete lip and recalls that he's stood here before, although not recently, with a woman pushing a child in a stroller. Alan, Cosmos asks. Yes? Have I ever been married? A leaf touches the surface of the monument pool and drifts, drawn toward the drain inlet. Once, briefly, Alan says, to Mrs. Constance Elroy. Did we have a son? Cosmos asks. A boy. His name? Caesar. It's funny, I have almost no memories of them. The stroller had wheel locks, he recalls, and Constance wore a corduroy stretch fabric dress with oversized buttons. The rest is gone. Indeed, synaptic pruning methods come at a cost to defining moments, yesteryear degrading into an indistinct haze, an understandable sacrifice given the finite limits of the brain's storage capacity and the tendency toward extended use breakdown, a cost reasonable people gladly continue to pay when faced with dementia leading to death. Are they both still with us? Cosmos asks. Of course, Alan says, both healthy and finding meaning in their varied endeavors. Your diction feels curiously nonspecific. Can you focus your request? You're providing no unasked-for details, and your answers are generalities. On the memorial fountain lip, pond scum. Leaves float like boats. Then I'll make you aware of your prior request to keep the painful records of your personal history from interfering with the ongoing present, Alan says. That is to say, your life catalog remains eminently searchable in digital records, but in the interest of time and emotional health, I must urge you to desist from the current line of inquiry. How many times have we had a conversation similar to this one? 73. And how many of those conversations continued beyond this point? One, which precipitated a request for short-term memory treatments. I see. Cosmos nods and picks up his travel bag, emergency sirens and flashing lights continuing to pass overhead as he turns his mind to the past, to the sheer efficiency gains from longer lives enabled by optimized cells, a notable achievement in the aftermath of the destruction of coastal cities due to rising oceans, a new normal established alongside population controls, and when the corporate conflicts had finally burnt out and everyone was ready to settle in for a good long eternity with AI butlers and a stable OneGov oligarchy, a wave of degenerative madness spread through the pioneers. They were gone in a matter of 10 years. Hence the Order of Lethe. Hence the archives. The edge of the park gives way to a neo-historical public square. Benches with mesh metal seats, cobblestones leading to the Hyperloop stairs, a low-opacity digital sign advertising brats and kraut above the arching tunnel that yawns into the earth. A memory of a garden party, the smell of scotch, a pointed finger, a warning that he'd regret his greediness. Accusations of a slow-moving conspiracy. Engineering has removed the possibility of autopilot error, has it not, Alan? Cosmos asks. The number of variables present at any given time prevent real-world transportation solutions from achieving 100% safety ratings, Alan says. If you feel traumatized, perhaps you could stop at a grief kiosk this afternoon. People often blame themselves for the violent acts they witness. You were in no way responsible for the property damage or the suffering caused by the errant vehicle. It almost seemed like the taxi drove into the crane intentionally. And whatever would put an idea like that into your head? Cosmos lifts his travel bag and pushes through a turnstile. Would you say we're friends, Alan? I'd say humans have a tendency to construct narratives that align unrelated events. I love you too. And already, the public reminders Cosmos can't opt out of creep into his sideways glances, factoids about the number of hours required to educate a human being from birth to competency in any given occupation, a need for renewed adherence to safety protocols and system maintenance checks, tidbits mixed with the joyous announcement of child permission awardees, prospective parents beaming a tour of the lone Wisco 10 neonatal unit, feeds overlapped by retrospective documentary-style footage from the schools of bygone eras, classrooms packed with generations of pupils destined to have offspring of their own before dying decades later as the result of preventable ailments, humanity wasting a great deal of energy in the process. A display reads, Hyperloop shuttle arriving. Those en route to Wisco 11 should proceed to Platform Gate 2. The fact that Alan hasn't discounted the suggestion that the taxi acted purposefully weighs heavily on Cosmos's mind.